and make our way into the catacombs. Hello there. Those skulls just floating there kind of worry me. But hey, let's just take out the skeleton, just like all the others. Our bastard sword seems to do fine against them, so I'm sure that this is alright. So rather curiously, we didn't get any experience there. Oh, hello. Yeah, that's what those do. And suddenly this skeleton with these glowing yellow eyes, or with these glowing white eyes, has stood back up. Well, I guess we've dealt with the problem here. Yeah, whenever you hear one of those noises, get your shield up and try to figure out where it is, because these things will hurt. Ugh. Try not to fight if there's any of them around. Hello there. I have no idea how that hit me. So, all of these skeletons here have a rather unfortunate property. They will actually respawn indefinitely and not even give you souls. The only way to counteract this is with a divine weapon. Andre mentions this if you talk to him. You know, you'll want... Or I think actually the Divine Ember might mention it. But yeah, like we've sort of heard tell of this, but all of these skeletons here require a divine weapon to kill them to stay dead. It's worth mentioning that it's only divine type damage. Like, there are certain weapons in this game that just innately do divine damage, and that will, you know, kill them just fine. That'll make them stay dead just fine. But you sort of have to find those to be able to use them, you know? So, best to just get the Divine Ember and forge one of your own once you get some green Titanite. I do like the way that it's sort of like tells you, hey, go to Blighttown first, get this. It sort of enforces a play order where you want to get a decent ways into the game before you take on the Catacombs, unless you want quite a challenge. There's also these creepy looking statue things here. Not really a fan of them, or all these other skeletons. You can tell the difference between skeletons that are just, you know, window dressing and skeletons that will actually rise up and kill you by these ones are much whiter, where the ones that are just props, I guess, are this brown decayed color and fall apart whenever you walk over them rather than coming together. So we come up to this seemingly impassable barrier, but there's a hole in the wall over here. And in it, we will actually find the source of these skeletons. This is a necromancer. They have a head. It casts spells. And if you're not careful, they might kill you. Boy, if they had hit me with another spider attack, with another fire attack, that probably would have killed me. So, these necromancers are the source of the infinitely infinitely respawning skeletons. They are one-time spawns, so if you kill them, all of the skeletons under their control will no longer respawn when you hit them with normal weapons. So that's cool, I guess. Then we also find a bonfire, which is quite useful. And a switch. Oh god, I love the solid feel that has. And you can see this slide down, so you can pretty much figure out that you've made the door from above go down. Side mention, this room is creepy as fuck. Like, you might not have noticed, but the wall is covered in little creepy crawly bugs. I believe this is the only room that really does this. But they are all fucking over this place. And they're all just moving around. And it's like you can You can kind of tell from here that there's just a texture on the ground that moves, and, you know, on the walls and stuff like that. But it is like, oh, the first time I noticed that, it's just so unsettling. They just come out of a ball from here and just slowly move around. Also, if you press up like real close to these textures here, you can see that these walls are actually lined with human skulls, and, you know, just there are a ton of them just embedded in. A lot of this area is taken from, I believe, the Parisian Catacombs, like the concept of this area. And like it's really there's a lot of really wonderful small details in it if you're paying attention to them. Quite like it. It really does have that creepy undead feel quite down. Now, these statues are pretty worn, you can't really tell, like, what their deal is. You may notice, if you're paying attention, that, oh, I guess this is a later era. The ones that I'm thinking of show up a little bit later, huh? Anyway, we come out... Fuck off, I'm trying to do it... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, fire, having a shield that resists fire is kind of helpful here. But you'll notice that there is still sort of an opening, but that we are kind of descending into a cave here. I really like the waterfall. I really like how you can look up and see a natural light source. But we have a lot of skeletons to fight. Like, a lot of skeletons. This area is very neat in that it's actually laid out vertically. It's one of the few areas in the game that is, and I think it does it really well from a gameplay perspective. So, the thing about doing vertical levels in, honestly, most games, like most platformers like this, is that a player will generally have a lot more options to move side to side than they will to move up and down. Like, you can jump in a Mario game, but you can't jump nearly as high as you can just run forward. And because of the way that the jumping is set up to help you move forward before it's set to help you move upward, it's a lot easier to move forward than it is upward. And it's a lot easier to design a level around moving forward than upward. So what this all comes down to is that vertically designed levels in games like this, like Dark Souls, there's no sense of vertical movement beyond falling down. So they're much easier to design. But what Dark Souls does really well is that instead of making a level where you have to climb up something, it makes a level where you can cleverly fall down something. The full path through the catacombs is actually extremely easy. Oop, getting shot by skeletons. If you know exactly the right ways to fall down. And I really like that type of design, because it is the sort of thing that, like, you don't really see in too many games, kind of taking advantage of just, you know, gravity. And it makes it so that this area is actually really interestingly put together and has a ton of possible traversal paths. Of course, as we move in, we start to see more of these creepy bugs walking around. So I guess I was wrong about this just being the only place. It's kind of just full of them. Ugh. And we start to see the graves lined up like this. These are, you know, about what you would expect from a catacomb type place, right? All of these skeletons are under the thrall of the necromancer that we saw beforehand, so make sure you kill them with a divine weapon. I'll take a loose urn, sure. Ooh, hello. Oh, this might be a problem. Skeletons are generally fairly tough enemies because they come at you in groups and they attack very quickly, which can just do a lot of damage to you, especially if they cause bleed. I mean, look at what just happened there. They hit us twice just really quickly. I'm a little bit surprised that we survived that. Oh my god. You can see there's still candles lit up, which is interesting. Sort of, it gives you this idea that this place has actually been maintained, most likely by these necromancers, who've been using it for their evil purposes, you can kind of assume. But maybe there's a bit more than that going on. It's certainly not as empty as you would expect a catacomb like this to be. Halberd with a large, hard, beak-like protrusion inflicts thrust damage. Instead of thrusting like a spear, the wielder of the lucerne aims to club the head with its hard beak. So it basically tells you that it's like a halberd-type weapon that does spear-like damage, basically. One nice thing about these guys, if you get them alone, is that you can kill them before they form. I have no idea how that hit me either. Fucker. So, like, if you get them alone and they're just they're just starting to come together, you can actually... Whoop! Yeah, that's a nice little trap there. How this necromancer chases you around the whole thing. But yeah, if you get them while they're forming, they don't actually have invincibility frames. It's quite a nice trick. So yeah, you're supposed to like notice that necromancer and kind of run after him when this path has a skeleton in it that will sneak up behind you and probably kill you. But the necromancer here is running out of room to really keep running away. Unfortunately, he does have quite a difficult battle for us here. And frankly, we may want to back off and let one of his skeleton buddies come after us, so that we're not dealing with quite so much. That is the nice thing about skeletons. They have some of the, like, longest leash distance in the entire game. So while you do end up facing a lot of them at once, you'll often end up able to kite them in ways. God, stop it. Yeah, we are just ripping through our Estus flasks right now. Honestly, I don't even care about you. You shot me once, but that's okay. I forgive you. The other thing about the Catacombs is that it actually kind of, like, twists and turns around itself. Like, that area down there is actually the first area where the Necromancer was. And if we instead go forward, we end up in a much more open area with a spiky bridge type thing in the way. You can kind of see that there's like a path here, but we're definitely not getting it right now. Oh, and there's a necromancer who wants to make friends with us. Well, oh dear. Run. The one thing about these skulls is that you actually can't like lock onto them. Like, I'm trying it now and it just doesn't do it. So you really just have to know where they are. Because in an area like this, it's really easy for them to just knock you off. So, let's take a look at this thing. Some of these decrepit statues actually have little weird face plates, and if you walk by them, they will actually try to give you a little poke. Oh dear. Ooh, yeah, be careful. I'm not even entirely sure how my thing caught that. Ah, but you will also notice that the skeletons also take damage from the explosions, so you can use this to your advantage. Ooh, I have to be careful. The Necromancer can actually hit me from here. This is a sticky situation, to be sure. Especially since I'm out of Estus already. So the way to avoid the statues with the plates on them is kind of just to kite around them. If you're aware of them, they're not that dangerous, but if you're fighting 3 or 4 skeletons and trying to get away from them, it's very easy to just accidentally back into one of these things. Over this way, we kind of find another contraption, and in a way that is actually framed really nicely if I had done that correctly. There's like a little gap in the rocks, and you can just see exactly what you're doing. This is really good game design, where, you know, you put a lever, and instead of saying, something seems to have happened, you give the player, in the position that their camera is most likely to be, a view of exactly what your switch is doing. I really like that kind of design. There's also an item over here to kind of breadcrumb to you that there may be something interesting. There's also a rock. And in a slight little gap and another beautiful case of camera of like, you know, playing around with camera angles, you get this promise that there's a bonfire. I really like that. I really like the way that this is laid out. Like, the way that this bonfire is sort of just been, it's like, yeah, there's a bonfire here. I'm going to switch back to this shield because it's... The thing that's really killing me is the fire attacks. But yeah, we can't get to that bonfire from here, but we can get the... we can, you know, we know that it's there now, so we know that we can look for it. So now, the only unfortunate thing is that we can no longer really block this guy's attacks. Or at least we no longer have the environment blocking this guy's attacks. So we really want to get these skeletons away from him so that we're not dealing with that as well. We can't really afford the chip damage here. Oh dear. Another important thing about skeletons is they can cross distance really, really quickly. Oh geez, this is getting a little dodgy. Ugh, damn it. I am going to need to find that bonfire soon. This is something I don't tend to do, but because I know that I'm relatively close, I'm actually going to burn a humanity on this. Because remember, humanities do restore HP. Almost always to full. It's not like a total full heal, but it will usually pretty much get you there. Especially at the lower levels. Hello, I killed your lackeys. Your little fire shit ain't helping me. You are snapping pretty quickly, so I can't really get you with that. So let's just beat the fuck out of you. More of these creepy bugs. And then we find another thing that I'm not actually going to explore just yet, because these graves look pretty soft. By the way, I don't have a perfect knowledge of the catacombs, so I'm probably going to end up missing an item or two. Try not to hate me, this place is quite the maze. Dark Souls is really good at making 3D mazes. And there's a lot of different paths here. So yeah, there's a neat little environmental thing here. Is this corpse is hugging this statue that has a faceplate on it, and if you walk into it, you will get, of course, poked. So you can sort of infer how this person met their demise. Quite like that. In here, there's a bunch more skeletons. Get fucked. There we go. Oh dear. Yeah, also, they attack a lot, so if you're using a shield that isn't the Great Shield, you will often just get your guard straight broken. So it looks like we're going to have to find another thing for this. Maybe it's over this way. Maybe there's just another skeleton. This guy is really just the easiest to bait skeleton in the game. No, maybe that guy is. So, in a neat little thing that we're not quite going to explore yet, there is actually an item down there, and it's really tough to see, but there's a ledge you can fall down to. Kind of like right under this, but not quite. So, you know, if you're feeling brave enough, you can go down there. Make friends, you know? I'm not saying it's a good idea, but you can do it. Maybe we'll try it out at some point. The catacombs do really require several runs to actually see everything, because if we were to fall down there and happen to survive, we would end up at the bottom of the catacombs entirely. I think I'm actually going to go this way, specifically because I know the bonfire is coming. So you once again kind of walk out here, and oh dear, This path sort of just ends. Maybe we'll see what's over this way instead. You head over this way, and you find a ladder with, like, metal rungs like this, as well as a switch. Oh, how wacky! There's normally an NPC here. But if you notice things, or if you're observant, you'll realize you're very close to where you were when you first saw that bonfire. And in a really deviously hidden secret wall, we find that bonfire that we saw earlier. Thank God.